What's up, guys? We are by Washington Heights. We're West 155th Street and St. Nicholas Avenue. As you can see, we are here. So today I started my shift since 4. It's 6 o'clock already. So I went to the museum. So I'm heading down. We are in the Washington Heights right now. So we're gonna head down to Harlem. So I'm gonna walk down here to go to Harlem. Share you a little bit about, what it is, So, we by West 155th and St. Nicholas Avenue. This area is where the Bronx is right in the next area. This is Harlem. Actually, Washington Heights. Washington Heights is back that way. Harlem is down that way. So we over by right here on West 155th and St. Nicholas Avenue. So over that side, that's on the Bronx, right, going back the bridge where the BX6 go. The Hunters Point, Bronx. So, yeah. It's the 6 train right behind me. The C train right behind me. So, today we learned a lot in the museum. Today we learned about culture and different type of exhibit cultures, Asian culture, Spanish culture, different type of culture that you learn when you go to certain different areas where you come on areas like Harlem. Harlem is like, a place where you go and you just relax and just walk around it too and help the homeless people out. Because most likely the homeless they lie on West 125th Street and they lie on the floor in that area. So my job is to help them because at the end of the day, we all been through it. We all been through the struggles where we have to go beg on the street and all that. So we all been through that struggle, you feel me? So it's like we have to help one another out so we can try to live good and live freely, So years ago, they separated Harlem. This is the history of Harlem on West 154th Street. This block that I'm walking right by, right? I'm gonna go right on this block because I want to share you guys what I learned on this block. This is West 154th Street and St. Nicholas Avenue. This block was a block where the Hamilton Heights Sugar Hill History District over this area where George Washington had his mansion over by where I just passed, the museum over by the Morris Museum on West 163rd Street. We just passed it. George Washington, 1776, George Washington used to live right in Harlem. His empire was right here in Harlem. And let me tell you something, you learn a lot. So, let's see right here. So on West 154th Street, as you can see, people's walking down, so I don't want to turn my camera over here. So I'm gonna go in the middle of the middle, like right here on the side. So right down this block right here, as you can see, this block was a historical block where a lot of people in 1885, these townhouses right down this block. Let's go down here real quick. These townhouses down this block was built in the 1800s. And this building was built in 1895. And this one right here was built in the early 1900s. So all these townhouse buildings that you see when you walk down this area, you see townhouses where people live in this area and they have their townhouses around this area. So the first house that I'm gonna go past was a house where George Washington started building. This house was here, right here, this building right here. So this building and all the buildings down this block right here was built in the early 1800s around this area. So 1895 in the early 1900s, this area was built with townhouses all that around West 154th. It was a Sugar Hill District area where people that was African American, people that was mixed color, people was like different areas that live on this area where they see Harlem was divided into two different parts. So we in the part where this is the history of George Washington around this area. So we're in the part where back in the 17th, all these houses right here were built in the early 1800s. So right here was where you have to learn your history when you don't know where you live, right? You have to know where your house and everything like that. So this is West 156, 154th. Let's continue. So these houses right behind me, they were built in the early 1800s are right behind me. So this house where I'm just passing, this building right here, was built in the early 1800s. So George Washington used to own his own area right here in the 1770s. His mansion was right down the block. So learn some history with that. Let's continue. That's sad. So this is where, this is a park right here that George Washington was here, and there's a lot of homeless people. They lying their stuff. This is kind of sad what you see here around this area. It's kind of sad where homeless people, they're living on the streets, and they've been living on the street for years. And when you go to areas and you ask them any help, I have a good heart to help them out. If I can't help them out, I give them resources where they could go and get help or whatever like that. So let's continue. Okay. So right here, West 153rd and St. Nicholas. Let's go. All right. We go. So let's see right here. So West 153rd Street, let's continue. Let's walk down here for a little bit, and then we're gonna come back up. All right. So West 153rd Street, this was George Washington's era. These buildings were created in the early 1900s, 1885. So to see the buildings behind me. And right down where George Washington's headquarters is at, those houses were built in the early 1700s. So all these buildings were built in the early 1800s, 1700s, and all these townhouses across the street were built like later. So in 1776, when George Washington signed an executive order, he built the whole Harlem. Harlem was built by him, and all these houses were built by him. So it's usually divided where the Dutchess donate their funds to the city, where the city had to make money from the coins that the Dutchess, Governor's Island and all the areas that you go into, they're owned by the Dutchess. They were owned by Great Britain. So New York City was owned by Great Britain, and the Dutchess owned New York. So the Dutchess they sold the city for like 20 billion golds, and then when they came to Harlem, they built up all those townhouses and everything over here. So this area was owned by the Dutchess, actually. So this area right here. You see, back then they used to have train tracks in the middle of the roads, and all these houses right here. And behind me, they were built in the early 1700s. These buildings weren't here because they just built these buildings up right here. So these buildings were never here, actually. So right now we about 152nd. That's 152nd Street. So you see these areas right here over by where we at right now, and down this block right here, you see areas where this is all Harlem. This is Harlem where George Washington had his mansion and he built up the whole Harlem. When he was president, he made executive orders where they had all these buildings built up by construction workers, and technically Jewish owns the buildings, them Jewish companies that's owned by the Jewish. So there's like usually the areas where you're going by, they have areas that's owned by different type of people. But you have to make sure that you learn history before you say, all right, I don't learn anything and I don't know nothing. Why I come to the area where you have to work and where you have to learn the history of the area. So that's the reason why I explore different areas where you learn the history. So let's look at this map. Fifth Avenue was named after the Museum Mall, right? So that's good to know that. So the part that we're passing by right now, this is Hamilton Heights, actually. Hamilton Heights behind me. Alright, so this is Covenant Gardens here. So in the next video, I'm going to take you walk you down the block right here to show you guys another history of Harlem. So I'm going to take you to the next video right now. So this is the garden part right here. So I'm going to take you to the next video right now. So see you guys in the next video.